Hey everyone, welcome back to Power Up. So yesterday, we talked about how small teams, like the famous two pizza teams, can really speed up product development. Today, I want to build on that and chat about something all product leaders struggle or deal with, which is how do you give your teams the freedom to do their best work without losing control of what's going on? Sounds tricky, right? But it's totally doable. And I'm going to talk about how. While I talk about this, I'm going to break this into 2 or 3 different sections, or maybe 3 or 4 sections, where we'll kind of break this down and figure out how we could benefit from this. The first part, the balance between autonomy and control. And as every product manager, you start with the why. Why should we even care about autonomy? Well, here's the thing. When you give your teams the freedom to make decisions and try out new ideas, they move faster. They feel a lot more accountable. They can experiment and learn quickly. This also helps them adapt a lot better. But, and this is a big but, if you just let them do whatever they want, you could end up with chaos. Suddenly, no one knows what the main goal is anymore, and things get messy. So the trick here is finding that sweet spot. You want your teams to feel empowered, but you still need to have some structure to keep everything moving in the right direction. So that's one. The second, setting clear objectives and boundaries. Now let's talk about how to actually give your teams freedom and keep things under control. The key here is setting objectives. One of the best way to go out and do this is by using something called as OKRs, which is objectives and key results. Now let me give you an example. Let's say your big objective is to improve user engagement on your platform. By this, your key result could be something like, say, increasing daily active users by 20% or reducing customer churn by 15%. What you're doing here is giving your team a very clear goal, but also letting them figure out how to get there. But here's the important part. Even though they have freedom, there still needs to be some boundaries. Things like budget limits, technical constraints, a potential shipping date or a deadline are all part of those guardrails. That way, the team knows how far they can push without really going off track. And this has worked wonders for me. Let's go to the next section, which is communication tools for autonomy. Okay, so how do you keep up with what's going on without micromanaging? It's all about having the right communication, I would say tools. And no, I'm not talking about constantly pinging your team on Teams or on Slack every 10 minutes. Tools like Jira, Confluence, Asana can help everyone stay on the same page. You can set up workflows so that teams can update their progress, highlight blockers, and outline the next steps. That way, you have visibility into what's happening without having to constantly ask for updates. Stand-up meetings are also a great help, but having something documented and recorded is very effective and useful as you kind of move ahead and develop bigger and better things. I'd also like to share another great tip, which is encourage asynchronous communication. Let your teams post updates when it works for them. Instead of pulling them into endless meetings, it's better that they are given some level of autonomy and have them post an update when they can, but they should be given a guideline of having an update that goes out for internal communication. This way, they can stay focused, but you still will get the insight that you need of where they are and what they're up to. The next section is trust and accountability. Now, this point is huge, trust. When you give your teams autonomy, you have to trust them. You need to believe that they know what they're doing and are capable of making smart decisions. But here's the thing. Trust doesn't mean you just sit back and hope everything goes well. It's about accountability. Focus on holding your teams accountable to their result, not their process. Again, this is something that's really worked wonders for me. Just think about it. If a team is hitting their goals, whether it's improving a product feature or increasing user engagement, does it really matter if they did it differently than what you would have probably done? Perhaps not. What's important is that you create an environment where teams feel responsible for the outcome and not just ticking boxes on a to-do list. And when things don't go according to plan, don't swoop in and micromanage. Instead, talk to them, help them learn and adapt for the next time. Another thing, real world examples of how I've seen this play out, and I'll just try to explain with a few examples. If you take Atlassian, for instance, they mastered the balance between autonomy and control. And this is something that I've heard from people who work there. Their teams have the freedom to choose their own tools and processes, but everyone's aligned to the same long-term company goals. It's this mix of autonomy with a shared purpose that makes them so effective. Yesterday, I gave you an example of Spotify, and I think I'd like to kind of bring them on in again. They use what's called squads, small cross-functional teams that have full ownership over a specific part of the product. These squads can make decisions and move fast, all while the leadership focuses on keeping the bigger picture in check. This allows them to pivot quickly and innovate, all without getting bogged down by too much oversight. So in summary, I'd like to go ahead and say, creating autonomy in your product teams is all about giving them space to innovate while making sure that they stay aligned with the larger goal. As a leader, it's your responsibility to set clear objectives, give them guardrails, use the right tools for communication, and more importantly, trust your teams to deliver. Because without trust, none of these will work. So that's it of this video. If you found this helpful, please go ahead and give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights on improving your product development process. I'd like to thank you once again, and I'll see you in the next one.